a little bit here.
Well, just one last question, if you don't mind.
And
Just
then Mason had
on the
something
topic of
quick,
altruism. Let me ask you a question. Because you brought up the idea of altruism, would you agree with me that highly educated and intelligent women tend to actually procreate less than people who are in poor socioeconomic conditions and have less intelligence?
That's a rough line. I don't know.
No, it's not rough. I mean, it's,
I need an
poor
answer on this to move along,
poor
please.
people reproduce more than rich people do, generally speaking, and especially upper class people. That is just the case.
That could be related to resources and.
Yeah, I'm not disputing any of that. It could be related to all sorts of things, but it is a fact that
education levels and like opportunity to find other things that you find.
Generally, the more educated a person is, the less they procreate.
Yeah,
Okay,
This
go
is
ahead.
the truth. Now,
Go ahead.
the reason I asked this question, well, I'm sorry, he was moving it along. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
It's okay. I understand, and it's okay.
Oh yeah, so
I agree. There is
okay. Well, my bad.
Sorry,
I'm not. One of us has to go, so you go.
It's hard over Zoom. I understand, but I don't mean to cut you off either. I think there is a correlation between education and higher levels of employment. That being said, it's also because these people with higher education have better insurance, better access to healthcare, more access to birth control. I think that also is a factor in it.
And they have less children.
Yes, I do think they have less children on
Yeah.
average. It's
So
seen in
here's the thing.
globally, too.
So then what you're doing, right? If you're truly altruistic, wouldn't you want the children of the future to be the smartest? And if you wanted them to be the smartest, shouldn't you be reproducing more than the dumbest people are?
I don't think it's an.
I mean,
I think it's more resources than genetics personally. I'm going to be honest, I'm not personally well versed in this subject, so take whatever I'm saying with a grain of salt right now. I'm not acting like I know everything on this subject. I think that if a child was to have the proper education, proper environment to develop, a good childhood versus impeccable genetics, I think that would play a bigger role.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about genetics. I'm just saying that if it were even so that it's resources based, and it must be, because nourishment, for instance, correlates with IQ. If you're young and you're malnourished, your brain is deep, it becomes deformed, literally.
Yes.
It doesn't grow to its potential. So this is a massive problem. But to hone in here, if you have the best and brightest women who are out there in the workforce instead of procreating, regardless of if it's due to resources or genetics, the future generations are going to be dumber than the previous generations, right?
I mean, I would like to
hang on, let her answer.
Okay.
I would argue that there's different ways in order to impact a child's upbringing than just being their mother. And I don't think, too, that...
That's not an answer to my question. It really isn't. That's a total evasion of my question. If the people who have the resources and are the best and the brightest and the smartest women, if we're wasting them in the workforce instead of them reproducing, how are we not going to end up with dumber generations of children?
I do see your point a little bit here. I think you do have a valid argument. And I will say, I respect your argument. My thing is that on average, that's not what we're seeing is happening here. I think that on average, more educated women with higher salaries do tend to have less children on average, right? That doesn't mean
the future of our future generations are going to be smarter or less smart?
I think it more so depends on the resources that you have accessible to you. It depends on the school district that you're living in. I think it depends on
I guess what Andrew's trying to get to is if those women who are smart, educated, have the most resources, therefore they should be having the most children because they have the most resources, education to train them up and create a bright future for us all.
Yeah. Why would I want to waste the best and the brightest of the only people who can replicate their genetics going and working for a boss in some fucking cubicle when they could be reproducing the next generation
and actually
of women who can then reproduce the best and the brightest and the best, et cetera, et cetera. That seems absurd to me.
But don't you see a lot of cases where there are families that are in that position and can but don't, right? But those people that do, their children are worse than the children that doesn't necessarily have to do with I swear to God,
What
it
are
has
you
nothing
saying?
to do.
What
Because
the
it has
fuck are
nothing
you
to do.
saying, bro?
Because that has nothing to do with that. Because those smart
so,
people
no, hold on.
can have children, and
I wanna
their
bring it back to
children won't
patriarchy.
end
Let
up
me
how
bring
you
it-
want it to be.
Okay,
Because
yep.
they're bad parents.
That's great. Thank you for that.
They could be
You
awful
need to watch
parents.
the
Okay,
movie
yeah.
Idiocracy.
Smart.
You'll understand everything.
All right,
It's
so
not
okay.
that hard to understand. It's
Let's
hard
bring
to
it-
understand
let's-
if you've never been in a
let's bring it back.
situation or a different country. I grew up in a
Yep.
country where
Cool. Yep. Heard you. Good.